Talk-28. Outward signs of self-knowledge. When nectar is imbibed, the body glows on the outside. What are the signs of a saint who has acquired self-knowledge? When nectar is imbibed, the body starts glowing. In a similar way, what are the signs of one who is established in self-knowledge? The signs of identifying a saint are indicative of his attitude. The liberated one abides in the self, Atman. He is self-existent, or Swayam Siddha, which means that which already exists without someone ever having created it. Such is the description of oneself. The sun, moon, water, heat, light, and earth, and even Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are all subsequent creations. Swarupa means your own self, which is eternally present. So it is Siddha, or ever existing. When we are the self, what objection should there be if we call ourselves Siddha, or accomplished? So far, because of ignorance, we did not realize that we are Siddha. Your true being is what is called Siddha. There is no separateness or difference in that state. Siddha is the one who abides in the self. When you know your own nature, all mental turmoil ceases. In nature, there are not two ideas, such as capability or incapability. Capability or incapability is in the realm of illusion, Maya. Your own good and bad ideas or thoughts give you good or bad results. God gives you nothing, nor does He do anything. Your inner sense, that is, your conscience, is a very valuable testimonial. Your face reflects your inner conscience. Chitragupta is the one who records your innermost thoughts, and that is your consciousness. It records everything secretly, and you cannot do anything which your consciousness does not know. The joy one feels by giving a penny to a beggar cannot be surpassed by eating something. For the benefit of the aspirant, I shall now tell you the outward signs of a Siddha, or realized being. Actually, there are no specific signs, for the realized one is beyond any rules or regulations. He has no worldly existence, neither happiness nor misery, neither wealth nor poverty. He takes all these as a dream. That the worry for the mundane ceases implies that he just stops worrying about this mundane life. Some seekers on the spiritual path go about naked, but this only is useful up to a point for destroying body consciousness. There is nothing more to it than that. Such behavior has no direct bearing on self-knowledge, Atma Vidya. The signs of an aspirant are dedicated attention towards the expositions of spiritual topics and an absence of worry for the mundane life. The realized one is outwardly similar to an aspirant, yet inwardly he abides in his own self. Nothing worries him. This is the sign of a realized one. After having overcome all doubts, just to listen, contemplate, and be in the natural state of meditation are the signs of a realized one. Outwardly and inwardly, there is complete, unshakable contentment. Once this state becomes steady and the mind is directed towards one's own nature, one becomes the self. For example, the name of a particular village was previously not known, and then once it is known, it is permanently known. Similar to this is the state when one's self-nature is known. Then physical movement does not affect one's abidance in the self. All this depends upon the inner state or consciousness. Even if a Brahmin were to grow a beard, can he rightly be called a Muslim? It is enough if one knows that the inner consciousness, the self, is Brahman, absolute pure consciousness. Without knowing the self, even if one performs great acts, they will be in vain. Once the self is known, there is no restriction on your action. The inner state must turn into Brahman. Renunciation or detachment must take firm root in your consciousness. Once one's consciousness has turned towards God, one's outward appearance does not matter at all. When you are attracted towards your inner nature, your innate nature, the signs of a saint get rooted in you. Without this, even if you study to the best of your ability, you cannot achieve that status. Therefore, abide in your being, or self-nature. And if you want to study, just remember that you are already Brahman. This means you remain steady and at peace. Listening to Satsangs ensures this steady attitude. Realize that you are the self and behave accordingly. Even realized ones can, upon abandonment of the self, become bewildered. I am telling you the outward signs of a realized being who is totally unaffected by worldly joys and sorrows. To end misery or to remain blissful, listen to these 10 outward signs of a realized being. The first is absence of anger. One must not get angry. If someone insults you, you must take it as an insult to the body. Keep your mind or your attitude completely free of anger. For to merely repress an impulse of anger and keep quiet is not an indication of absence of anger. Absence of anger implies absence of any reaction to an anger-provoking stimulus. If anything happens against your mind's liking, and there is a surge of anger, it indicates a habit of wanting to dictate to others. These 10 signs are told for the aspirant's study. And with the help of these signs, continue your practice, and these signs will show up in your behavior. All is untrue in this world. How then can one thing evoke anger? Even that thing is untrue. This is the way one must think and reflect. One must recognize all the causes of anger in the mind. The second is detachment. Detachment is the absence of even a single desire, and this leads to fearlessness. Otherwise, there is no freedom from fear for you. One must not depend on others, as in the case of saying, "If I do not get anything to eat, I will die." For desire for the bliss of the self is a desire for bliss within. People who hoard millions and then go about speaking to others about the knowledge of Brahman do not do good to themselves. Instead, they commit fraud. They do not know the meaning of detachment. Absence of anger gets reinforced through detachment. Absence of anger is really inner detachment. Even if one gets something, one should renounce it. Be good to those who cause you harm. To be in one's own nature is the main indication of a realized being. Everyone must be granted freedom. One must never get angry. As we are the inner self, Brahman, no one can really insult us. So one who gives us trouble liberates us from the ego of the body. This is what we must understand. And if you put this into practice, it will become your habit. One must reflect for oneself and inquire, why does anger arise? It is not difficult to bring all these 10 requisites into practice. You find them difficult because you have not formed this habit up to now. Detachment means to have no desire. A person becomes miserable because of the absence of detachment. The meaning of the word karpari, or worldly person, is that kar means trouble, and bari means plenty of it. We must leave off all our wants through discrimination. The highest fortune of a yogi is when detachment, as the complete understanding that all of this is false, gets rooted in him. This maya, or illusion, is so peculiar that it gives nothing to the one who begs and gives all to the one who does not ask. Everyone has developed a fondness for worldly objects, but the more detached one is, the happier he becomes. The third is control of the senses. This means not to be attached to the senses. With strength, anything is possible. When one becomes dependent, then one thinks of Rama only for some gain or benefit. If there is true strength, there is less fear, and it becomes easier to think of knowledge. A strong man understands knowledge better. Virtue is indicated by control of the senses. The fourth is mercy or forgiveness. Each one is the self. Therefore, we must forgive those who harass us. Never harbor hatred in the mind, because the burden of the desire to take revenge festers in the mind, with the result that only enemies and misery are created. Therefore, every time there is some offense, one must be ready to forgive. The fifth is compassion. One must be kind to all. What is compassion? It is not being cruel to anybody. The sixth is peace. One must maintain peace and not worry, and then they enjoy the bliss of the self. Without hurting anyone, if we help others, they develop love for us. If we wish that good should not come to others, then good does not come to us either. He is a good man who becomes happy when he wishes for happiness for other people. These are indications of the seventh sign. Where one acts contrary to this, he is a miser. The eighth is absence of greed. Do not be greedy. Greed is only for objects in illusion that are untrue. The ninth is being magnanimous. These are true nobility. To desire that all must be happy, you must learn to be magnanimous from the very core of your heart. And the 10th is fearlessness. Fear creates misery. If it is possible to be rid of misery, it is the duty of the jnani to do so. So start putting the above traits into practice. And through this, you will enjoy the glory of knowledge, jnana. These are the 10 external signs of knowledge. To be one with your self-nature or being is true happiness. He who is happy both within and without is blissful. To behave nobly means to let each one act according to his or her desire. Otherwise, one forms a habit of censoring others. One must never speak ill of others. Also, never bother yourself with petty observations about others. Do not meddle in the affairs of others. This is true charity. Do not waste your time getting involved in others' affairs or in gossip. Only the one who achieves self-knowledge is a realized being. He becomes happy if he puts the above 10 requisites into practice. Lord Krishna is called a liar, yet he is a god. This is because Krishna did lie, but at the same time he was always identified with the self.